Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 13, entitled The Dynasty of Maharaja Nimmi, texts 2 and 3. Text 2 I will read myself. Tam nirvartyagamishyami tavan mam pratipalaya tushnim asid grihapatihi sobhindrasya karon makham. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhajanaramita Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. I shall return here after finishing the yajna for Indra. Kindly wait for me until then. Maharaja Nimmi remained silent, and Vasishta began to perform the sacrifice for Lord Indra. Text 3. Nimihi chalam idam vidvan nimischalam idam vidvan satram arabata atmavan satram arabata atmavan ritvigbihi aparaihi tavat ritvigbir aparaistavan na agamat yavata guruhu nagamat yavata guruhu nimischalam idam vidvan satram arapatatmavan ritvigbir aparaistavan nagamat yavata guruhu nimischalam idam vidvan satram arapatatmavan ritvigvir aparaistavan nagamat yavata guruhu. Nimihi, Maharaja Nimmi, chalam, flickering, subject to end at any moment. Idam, this life. Vidvan, being completely aware of this fact. Satram, the sacrifice. Arabhata, inaugurated. Atmavan, self-realized person. Ritvigbihi, by priests. Aparaihi, other than Vasishta. Tavat, for the time being. Na, not. Agamat, returned. Yavata, so long. Guruhu, his spiritual master. Vasishta. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maharaja Nimmi, being a self-realized soul, considered that his life is flickering. Therefore, instead of waiting long for Vasishta, he began performing the sacrifice with other priests. Kindly repeat the translation. Maharaja Nimmi, being a self-realized soul, considered that his life is flickering. Therefore, instead of waiting long for Vasishta, he began performing the sacrifice with other priests. Purport. Charikya Pandita says, Shariram Kshana Vidvamsi Kalpantastayino Gunaha. The duration of one's life in the material world may end at any moment. But if within this life one does something worthy, that qualification is depicted in history eternally. Here is a great personality, Maharaja Nimmi, who knew this fact. In the human form of life, one should perform activities in such a way that at the end he goes back home, back to Godhead. This is self-realization. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport and translation to Canto 9, Chapter 13, texts 2 and 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Gauditani ki jai. Prabhupada ki jai. So here we see Maharaja Nimmi, one of the great descendants from the Raghu Vamsha, son of Ikshvaku. He wanted to perform a sacrifice and requested Vasishta Muni to officiate the position of a chief priest. But at that point of time, Vasishta Muni had already committed to perform a sacrifice on behalf of Lord Indra. So Vasishta Muni said, I will complete Indra's sacrifice and I will perform the sacrifice on your behalf. But Maharaja Nimmi, as Shukadev Goswami explains here, Vidvan, he has used the word Vidvan. He is a self-realized soul. Vidvan is translated as a self-realized soul because he knows the value of human form of life. So Maharaja Nimmi, he thought life is flickering. Any moment I can die. So how can I wait for Vasishta Muni to perform the sacrifice? Therefore he appointed other priests and went ahead with his sacrifice. So in the purport, Prabhupada explains about this central point of this verse, about the urgency of perfecting our life once we get this human body. And that perfection is possible by performing sacrifice. And the best sacrifice, as recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga, is chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So Maharaja Nimmi didn't wait for Vasishtha Muni to come and perform the sacrifice. He immediately began the sacrifice. So this is the urgency which is being brought about in this verse. There are many nice statements by Prabhupada in this regard about the sense of urgency. Prabhupada says that the way to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Prabhupada says like this: death is coming, death is at my door, let me finish my chanting. Let me finish my chanting. We should always think death is already coming, so let me chant. And Prabhupada says this is Krishna Consciousness movement. So our chanting should be done in the mood that death is coming. It may come any moment. So let me complete my chanting. So this is the sense of urgency. It's not that I can do any time, I can do later, I can do tomorrow, next month. Krishna Consciousness cannot wait for anything. Just like Kulashekara Alvar, Prabhupada explains that he said, I cannot wait up to the natural point of death when my death is going to come, because I don't know when it is going to come. And at that point of time, my mind will be completely disturbed. My entire system will be topsy-turvied. So now my mind is sound. Let me enter immediately in the stem of your lotus feet, is the prayer by Kulashekara Alvar to Lord Krishna. Prabhupada also explains about his own experience when he first met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur about this sense of urgency of practicing Krishna consciousness immediately. Prabhupada explains himself that he was a Gandhian during his college days, and when he met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to impress about the importance of Krishna consciousness and Lord Chaitanya's movement, and to preach Lord Chaitanya's movement to everyone immediately. That time Prabhupada, being a Gandhian, he says, who will hear your Chaitanya's message? We are a dependent country. India is a dependent country, so we need to get independence first. How we can spread India's culture while being under the British Raj and British rule? So first we require independence. The Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur replied, the message of Chaitanya Deva is never dependent upon who is ruling, is the Thakura's reply. Firm reply. It need not wait for a change in Indian politics. It is far too important. It cannot wait. So Lord Chaitanya's message, Krishna consciousness, cannot wait for anything, neither independence nor any material, social, political arrangements and convenience. It cannot wait. It has to be immediately executed. That is the sense of urgency. Because this Krishna consciousness takes time to cultivate. So where is the question of waiting? The waiting is done, one place Prabhupada explains, till you come to the point of human life. So many millions of bodies we have taken. We have been waiting. Now is the time to act in Krishna consciousness. After so many passing through so many species of life, we have come to this human form, valuable human form. Now also we want to wait again. Again you have to wait. Death may come and take away this only opportunity in the 84 lakh species cycle. Death may snatch away this opportunity, and we don't know when the next death is for me. So how can I wait? I have to immediately act. Just like when the house is on fire, you can't wait. You can't start planning. Oh, what shall we do now? Call for a meeting. Okay, even for an emergency meeting. And then start discussing. What do you think? What do you think? What do you... By the time you'll be burnt out, you have to act. You have to jump out of the house. That's all. You have to just escape. Jump out of the fire. Otherwise you'll be burnt out. So human life means an indication that we are already, it's a siren, it's an alarm. And people always think, okay, I'm waiting for the right time. I'm making arrangements, suitable arrangements. But the risk is so high because death can come any moment. As we know, don't quote the name, one of the prominent persons just about few years back retired from his official position, and there was a farewell party, and many big important men of the country were attending. India, just few years back. While he was addressing his own farewell speech, he collapsed. While talking, he collapsed. This is the reality. So Prabhupada says how much serious we must be. And he quotes Parikshit Maharaj. At least Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days notice period. Prabhupada says we don't know whether we have 7 minutes left from now or 7 seconds. So Prabhupada says actually Parikshit Maharaj was the most serious of his time. And Prabhupada says we should be more serious than Parikshit Maharaj. Because we don't know how much time is left. And one place, as he began to say, Prabhupada says, this Krishna consciousness also will not come immediately. Just because you know the secret, the technique, okay, at least we got to know. It's not enough. It will take time for us to absorb Krishna consciousness. It will take time. Just like you eat food, it takes time to assimilate and give the nutritional value. The effect will not be immediate. You have to eat, you have to, the body has to assimilate, it will take time. This art of Krishna consciousness, these techniques of Krishna consciousness, even if you know theoretically, it will take time. To understand the science of Krishna consciousness takes time. And then when are we going to understand? Okay, before that, when are we going to come prepared to learn? Then understand it, then practice it, then realize. It's a long way. One ordinary degree will take 25 years of our life. 20 plus years of our life. One basic BA degree, BCom degree, or MBBS degree, takes 1/3 of our life practically. Just completing an academic course and then to become experienced in that field takes much longer time. Imagine the spiritual science of Bhakti Yoga, it will take time. So we have to begin immediately. There is one nice famous reference by Prabhupada, which Prabhupada quotes. This is the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita. This Krishna Bhakti, Bhavita Mati, this Krishna consciousness, Bhavita Mati, the consciousness of Krishna Bhakti. Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate. You can purchase it. Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate. So if you can purchase, then what is that purchase value? Tatra laulyam ekalam mulyam. The purchase value is your greed, your eagerness, specifically eagerness. Your eagerness to see Krishna, to attain Krishna, obtain Krishna. Then somebody may say, oh, I am very eager to see Krishna. I'm very enthusiastic to see Krishna. Rupa Goswami also says, no, na janma koti labhyate. Says, this eagerness to see Krishna will take millions of lives. To get that kind of eagerness, I must see Krishna. This life. That eagerness is not all easy. It takes millions of lives. So we have to begin. The Prabhupada says once there was one saintly person who was in the forest, and he blessed 4 kinds of people in 4 different ways. Rajaputra Chiramjiva. He says that's the first one. He told the son of the king, you better live forever. Rajaputra Chiramjiva. Live forever. Muniputra Ma Jiva. And he told the Muniputra, you better die immediately. Then to the butcher, who's always cutting animals, he said, Ma Jiva Ma Mara. You neither live nor die. Then to the sadhu, he said, Va Jiva Va Mara. Either you live or you die, both are same. Then Prabhupada says, oh, this looks little astonishing. What is this kind of blessing? Prabhupada went on to explain the reasoning behind this saintly person blessing different kinds of people in different ways. So first, Rajaputra Chiram Jiva. He said to the son of the king, you live forever, because this prince, son of the king means prince, is leading a life of sense gratification. So much he is enjoying sense gratification that if he dies, he will go to hell. So better you don't die, you live. All kinds of things he'll be doing to enjoy his senses. Therefore, if he dies, then he'll go to hell. So better you live forever. Rajaputra Chiranjiva. Muniputra Ma Jiva. Muniputra, he said, better you die immediately. Because Muniputra means basically a brahmachari. So he is doing so much, practicing so much austerity, so much penances. He is undergoing so much penances, so much hardship. It is good he dies, because he'll go back to Godhead. So better he dies. Then, butcher, you neither live nor you die. Why? Because he's seeing bloodshed right in front of him. So horrible. Actually, he cannot live seeing, cutting somebody's throat right in front of oneself. How horrible it is. How can you stand there? And if he dies also, his life is hellish. Right in front of him, there is hellish experience. And if he dies also, he'll go to hell. Therefore, he told him, you neither live nor die. Because in both cases, your life is in a very pathetic condition. And sadhu, va jiva va mara. Either you live or you die, both are same. Because when you die, you will go back to Krishna. And when you live, you are continuing to serve Krishna and perform devotional service. Your life is wonderful. If you die also, your life is glorious. You are living also, your life is glorious. So that is the blessing for the sadhu. So that is the conclusion, that we should become devotees. Then our life is glorious. As Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit here, Shariram Kshana Vidvamsi Kalpanta Stayino Gunaha. So in this material world, our duration of life may end at any moment. But within that short span of life, if we do something worthy, that qualification is depicted in history eternally. Kshana vidvamsi kalpantastayino gunaha. So if you do something worthy, then you live in history eternally. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kirtir yasya jivati. One who becomes a devotee, becoming a devotee itself is glorious. And who is famous? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, to become a devotee is to become famous. That is real fame. True eternal fame. To become a devotee of the Lord is actually true fame. And one lives a glorious life by becoming a devotee of the Lord, not otherwise. So there is one more verse by Chanakya Pandit, famous verse Prabhupada quotes, Ayusham kshanam nalabhya swarna koti bihi nache nirartakam nitihi kachahanis tatodika. So Chanakya Pandit says that the same idea again is presenting in another place. Ayusham kshanam ekopi nalabhya swarna koti bihi. Even a moment of one's life cannot be retrieved, even if one is willing to pay in return 1 crore or crores of gold coins. Nalabhya koti swarna bihi. Even if you are willing to give or pay 1 crore of gold coin, you cannot even bring back even one moment of the life which has passed in history. So, nachen nirartakam nitihi kachahanis tatodika. Therefore, he says, Prabhupada quotes, one should consider how much loss one suffers if he wastes even a moment of his life for nothing. Nirartakam means for nothing. Nirartakam, if one wastes life for nothing, then one should seriously consider how much big loss we have undergone. So the biggest loss is the loss of time. So it is said that the Goswamis, they were so conscious of spending their time every moment cautiously. They were spending their time in Krishna consciousness every moment of their life. So now to appreciate this, we should appreciate the temporary nature of our life. So the sign of intelligence, or a person who is learned, or a person who is wise. Who is a person who is wise? Who is a person who is learned? A person who can understand the temporary nature of life, the temporariness of material nature, of material life, of material body. He is intelligent, he is wise. And one who cannot understand the temporary nature of this body, of this world, of our life, he is less intelligent. He is a fool. Therefore, the wise work for eternal life, while the foolish are busy making up for their temporary life. So, there is a famous saying, Sannimitte varam tyage, Thiago, vinashe niyate sati. After all, we have to give up everything, including this body. But before we give up everything, why not use this body for some good purpose, for a better cause? We have to give up everything. Then why not utilize the things, utilize the asset which I have, this body, my intelligence, my property, whatever I possess, whatever assets I have, why not utilize it for a good cause and make a good future? That is sign of intelligence. Prabhupada says one place, An animal does not know the value of this body. He is not trained how to utilize this body for a better cause. But human being must undergo training to use this body for a better cause. Otherwise, we will also die in ignorance. Everybody is offering this body for some cause. Somebody for country, somebody for society, and somebody else for family, for developing business. Everybody is sacrificing for something, for somebody. But one who sacrifices his body, his life for self-realization, he is the most intelligent man. He is the most intelligent man. So Prabhupada says, before meeting next death, one should learn how to become fully spiritualized. Therefore Krishna said, Buddhau sharanam anvicha kripana phala hetavaha. Don't become a miser. Why is Krishna using this idea? Don't become a miser in the Bhagavad Gita. He's saying this human body is attained very rarely. So if you use it only for sense gratification or for temporarily bodily needs and bodily demands, he's a miser. Miser means a person who does not know how to utilize his valuable assets and enjoy those valuable assets in possession. If he does not enjoy and he simply keeps it as a showpiece, what is the use? Like Prabhupada said, you have a valuable car, it is lying in the garage. What is the use? You have to use it. Like that, you have this valuable human form of life, but you're not moving it towards the highest destination of going back to God. Vehicle is meant for moving, right? It has to take you to your desirable destinations. Similarly, this body is a vehicle to move to the most desirable destination called back to God, to the kingdom of God, wherein I'll be relieved from the suffering of material existence, of material body. So having this valuable human life, if I don't utilize it for that purpose, that end, I'm a miser. I have money but I will not use. That he is called a miser. I have assets but I will not expend the assets. I will keep it safely. So like that we have the human body but we are not utilizing it in Krishna consciousness. He is a miser. So Suta Goswami explains in second canto of Bhagavatam, certain trees are living for hundreds and thousands of years. Prabhupada says in Calcutta Botanical Garden, there are trees which are living for there is a banyan tree which is living for 500 years. And elsewhere when he was in Los Angeles, he said there's a tree in Los Angeles which is 7,000 years old. So does it mean the tree's life is very important? Can the tree practice self-realization? Can the tree move towards its destination of self-realization? Tree meaning the soul in the tree's body. Even though the soul is present in the tree's body, it cannot take advantage. It is in a disadvantaged position. But the same soul in the human body, although material body like the tree's body, gives us the facility for self-realization, for understanding the science of Krishna consciousness, for understanding the temporary nature of this body, that any moment I can die. The tree cannot understand. The human being can understand. Then you may argue, when we go for preaching, many people, they don't bother. That means the human being has degraded himself his consciousness to the level of an animal or a tree. That's what it means. He has downgraded his consciousness to the level of a tree or an animal, so much so he is not able to appreciate that I'm going to die. Just like Prabhupada gave the example of a goat. A goat comes to the slaughterhouse. There is a slaughterer and is chopping off the goat's head. Now, the first goat, fine, did expect. What about the other goats who are lined up? At least they should get alarm. They should get the signal. They should run away. They will not run away. That sense of fear or loss of life is very much covered in lower species, but not so in human life. So that is the great advantage we have. So Suta Goswami says, do you mean to say Shankaracharya lived only 32 years? Lord Chaitanya lived only 48 years. Do you mean the life of the tree which is living for thousands of years is more important than Shankaracharya's life and Lord Chaitanya's life, who lived very short? That's a very strong argument. You think their life is more important than Lord Chaitanya's life or Shankaracharya's life just because they lived short? So, people think if I can live for 1,000 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, my life is successful. In that case, Bhagavatam is saying that tree's life is better than your life because they're actually living much, much more than you. Simply living long number of years is is that the criteria for appreciating somebody? If you make that as the criteria, the tree is much better than you. They are living 500 years, 1,000 years. You live only 30, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, that's all. Prabhupada says, no. So living for many, many years is not success of life. Live for a moment, but live with Krishna consciousness. That is success of life. Even one moment in full Krishna kindness assures complete success than living for thousands of years in ignorance of Krishna or Krishna consciousness. So this is the spirit of Vedic civilization. Therefore, they didn't bother to make an elaborate materials, they didn't bother to have an elaborate material advancement. They didn't bother much about material advancement because they know life is temporary. You want to get an idea, you want to do a sample study of a Vedic person. Prabhupada gives one example. There was one Lomasha Rishi. He's called Lomasha Rishi because his body was full of hairs. Loma means hair. So Lomasha Rishi, his body is filled with hairs. One Rishi was there like that, the ancient times. So this Rishi had a benediction. What is the benediction? The benediction is, after the end of one Brahma's life, one hair from his body will drop. So like that, as many hairs in his body is there, each of them is one Brahma's life. That many years he will live. He got this benediction. So Narad Muni came to this Lomasha Rishi and said, so my dear Muni, you have such a fantastic life. But I see you don't have a cottage also to stay. Why don't you build one small cottage? In reply to Narada's question, Lomasha Rishi said, my dear Narada, don't you understand life is temporary? We will die any moment. So why make this elaborate arrangement? Not elaborate arrangement. It's only a cottage, Narada Muni suggested. So life is temporary. Why waste time in making these arrangements? Better save time for Krishna consciousness. This is the kind of spirit which people had in the Vedic times. I will close with one more reference Prabhupada gave. Lord Shiva, another classic example. He is the master of material nature. Hmm? He is controlling everything in this world. He owns everything in this world. Bhavani, his wife, she is ruling this world, and Shiva is her husband. So, although he has everything of this world to possess, still he himself has no house. Lord Shiva has no permanent residence. Forget permanent residence, he has no residence, Lord Shiva. Because he is not bothered about making such arrangements. He just wants to absorb his time in Krishna consciousness. So these are the examples from these great souls for us to appreciate the value of human life and the value of Krishna consciousness. Now we have got, we should take advantage. If we lose this opportunity, again we'll get stuck up in the cycle of birth and death. 84 lakh species. So it will be a very big loss, very big miss if we miss this human life. So therefore Krishna consciousness cannot wait for anything, any material reasons. It has to be taken up immediately and in full seriousness. So as I said, if you say give me little time, that time we have already taken. 84 lakh species time we have taken. Now there is no more taking time. We have to act only now. So that's why Maharaja Nimmi thought that being a self-realized soul considered that life is flickering. So he couldn't wait for Vasishtha Muni returning after performing Indra sacrifice. He immediately started the sacrifice, taking other priests' assistance. So we should also take up our chanting, our deity worship, our Krishna conscious practices immediately and not wait for any suitable arrangements. If it is there, fine. Not there also, we have to take it up immediately. Stop here. Thank you very much. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.